Hey, and welcome back to Try Knoxville. Mike Roberts along for the ride. And as promised, we have a special guest with us right now, the current fire chief for the city of Knoxville. I say that currently because we went through so many for a while, but you've been around now for how many years now?
Since 2018.
2018. Cal Wyman, thank you for taking time. And I know you don't have a lot of time as the runs keep increasing. The 911 demand is in full steam. You guys had a fire over the weekend out on Kermit Drive. Besides fire, Knoxville City Fire and Rescue does EMS as well. That EMS thing broke another record last year, I think.
Yeah, we've kind of been holding that 24 to 2,600 the last couple of years. We did a study in 2022 that said in 5 years we should be over 3,000.
Wow. And that was 2022, so we're 2021. So about 2.5 more years.
Yeah.
3,000 calls.
Yep.
How many crews you running now?
We run a daily staffing of 5. So there's 5 there every day.
5 people.
5 people, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay. So you've got an ambulance that has 2. So there's 2 crews for EMS. You've got fire. And I've had to not personally use your services lately, but a friend of mine who I take care of. And you guys have been strapped.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have been, yeah, we can do it, but it may be a few hours on non-emergency stuff. When's the 3rd crew coming in?
It's...
I mean, if you reach 3,000, you have to.
Right. Oh, we really need to at this point. I've been asked and I've been tracking how many times we've needed a 3rd ambulance. And when I completed my monthly report for August, we'd already used the 3rd ambulance like 368 times for the year. So if you just average that out for the year, it's going to be around 500-600 times probably, which would actually put it ahead of the 3rd busiest service in the county.
Population 7,300 in the city of Knoxville. Yeah, you do serve township as well, Knoxville Township. You cover other communities as well, tiered service type deal, mutual aid, I should say. But you guys aren't the only one with this problem. This is Iowa-wide.
Well, it's nationwide.
Well, I only know about Iowa because I live here.
Right. No, this is a nationwide problem. We're seeing a shortage in people that want to do this kind of work anymore, but we're also seeing the increase in calls. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of trying to get people that want to work in fire and EMS, and then getting the appropriate staff to handle the calls for service.
Why is it such a difficult time now? Did COVID burn them out, or what happened?
I think COVID burned it out. We've seen a lot of turnover since then where people have just went completely into other fields. Mm-hmm. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that some of the new generation want that Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, flexible schedules, and that's just not something we can provide.
No, I mean, you're doing, what are you guys doing, 24s?
They do a 48.
48. Wow.
48, 96. So they're on for 48 hours, off for 96.
And they may or they may not sleep.
Right.
And the sleeping conditions are just phenomenal at your department. Last I checked, it was all but sleeping on top of the furniture, if you will. You guys have outgrown your building a long time ago. We had Heather in here the other day. Talking about the new public safety building. We talked about the fire department portion of it as far as exiting and where it's going to exit as far as streetwise in the new location once it is built. With that being said, sleeping quarters finally. When I say sleeping quarters, people don't understand. Your current fire department building technically does not have sleeping quarters. No,
we actually built a room in one of the bay spaces to accommodate sleeping quarters.
Yeah, and it's in the corner. It is small. It is tight. Because one thing I've noticed, every time a new ambulance comes in, it seems to be just a little bigger than the last one.
Yeah, every piece of equipment is just getting bigger. Nothing is getting smaller. Look at the fire truck we ordered in 2020 to replace the 30-year-old one. Pretty significant size difference there, and we tried to keep it as best to the same dimensions and size configurations as we could, but it's just they don't build anything that small anymore.
Is it equipment? Is that why they're building them bigger, because of equipment?
It's the equipment and what's required to be carried on him now, and all that's made it pretty standard size truck, a little bit bigger.
Required is a good word to segue into where we're going next. We're going to talk about commercial inspections, because now it is a requirement. Thanks to adopting new codes, thanks to newer codes coming out, international fire codes, and correct me if I'm wrong, the bigger portion of that book, which is yay thick, get my fingers right here in front of the camera, yay thick, is life safety measures.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we've adopted that in Knoxville. Street talk is, it's insane, it's not necessary, I don't need this. I go back to the same old, same old. You don't need 911 until you need 911.
Yeah.
You're catching a lot of flack right now because of this, for several reasons. I don't think people understand what goes into building inspections anymore. It isn't a walk-in, look around, oh, your lights are up, your extinguisher's down, okay, you pass.
Right.
There's no such thing as a 2-minute drill in fire inspections anymore.
Right. It takes a bit of time because there's a lot to look at and
Right.
a lot that we have to address.
One of the things, I'm going to address it up front, I've known you since you've been here. Why in the world doesn't the chief do the inspections? And I know my answer is you're a little busy.
I can do inspections, and
Right.
I have done some, and I don't have a problem doing them, but then what else doesn't get done?
Right.
Because it's not just inspections that we do. It's not, I mean, if we're busy enough, I'll be on an ambulance. So there isn't, we've tried to do it with the duty crews, and they'll schedule an inspection, pull up in front of the business, and then they have to leave.
Right.
So that doesn't get the inspections done. That doesn't get us to where we need to be. So that's why we looked at the part-time inspector. We had 2 good ones, but with anything part-time, as soon as they find something full-time or something better, they
Right.
move on. And it's a hard position to fill because we are talking a part-time inspector with significant qualification requirements.
When you talk about part-time, how many hours a week are we talking?
I think we put it in the budget for like 25 hours, average of 25 hours a week.
Okay. What are we paying them?
It was, I think, $25 to $33 an hour based on qualifications.
It's a pretty good part-time job. Perfect job for the retired person.
That's who we're kind of trying to target, is that retired fire marshal, retired fire chief.
Right.
That's just looking for something to get him out of the house once in a while and give him a little extra money on top of his retirement.
By adopting the newer fire codes, what is the purpose of that as far as safety measures for the community? I know you guys go for the ISO ratings. Is that part of it?
That's part of it. I mean, ISO is the grade of your fire department. So the lower score we can get, the better service we can provide, and that also in return will your insurance company uses those scores to determine what you pay for insurance.
Right.
So in 2021, when we had our last ISO review, we were able to drop from a 6 to a 4, which was a pretty intensive step for our fire department.
ISO is basically like a golf score. The lower the number, the better.
Yep,
Okay.
you're striving to be an ISO 1.
Mm-hmm.
Very few departments hit that in the country. But anything 3 or under is considered kind of the prestigious ranking, and we were 3 points away from a 3. So we're getting there. We still have work to do, but we're getting there.
What's it take to get to that next level?
One of them is going to be we need a training facility. We've been applying for grants. We're working towards that. That's kind of the good deal with the new location for the public safety building is we have the land now behind it to put a training facility up that would hit some of those other requirements. The training of our staff, our inspections, our code. We get points for our fire code and the current adoption of whatever edition.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be 3 code cycles or newer. So when I got here in 2018, we were still on the 2009 code version. So, I mean, that was a pretty good jump from 09 to 18.
Right.
But that's what that's what kind of ISO wanted to see and where we needed to go.
You currently mentioned that it's hard to keep a part-timer in this inspection thing. You guys are taking applications actively right now. Who's doing it right now?
Right now, we actually hired Iowa Inspections to do that because we knew if we didn't get somebody in there to do them, they were just going to get backlogged. And there's certain businesses have to be inspected annually just to do business. You know, if you have a liquor license, if you don't get a fire inspection done in time, you lose your liquor license.
Right.
So we didn't want to backlog that or cause anybody's business hardships due to not getting their inspections done.
You and I live in what I call the middle of an era. When we were younger, the old fire departments were, and I'll use this inspection. Chances are they went there, they drank a beer while they inspected. Here you go, here's your license, go away, da-da-da-da-da. You know, when we got done in younger eras, you had beer in the fridge after fire at the firehouse, right? This is a business now. This is what people need to understand. And in your situation that we talk about, of why don't you go out and do these inspections, something has to be missed if you do. Because I wouldn't even begin to think about wanting to do the paperwork that you're doing right now, wanting to keep track of the training hours. Yes, you're paid to be there. Your crew, you mentioned 5 of them paid to be there. But you're still a volunteer fire department as well. You have people that come to your building and go out and fight fires on a volunteer basis.
Actually, we
right?
don't. I mean, we don't. There's
Okay.
there's
It's all full-time?
the volunteer pool is dried up.
Why? That's where I was going.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think volunteerism in the country is just dying in general. I mean, I was at a conference last year, and they told us that roughly public safety in Iowa is losing 100 volunteer members a year statewide. Let's just easy math this because I'm a simplistic guy. Let's just say there's 100 counties in Iowa. Each county is losing
99, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But each county is losing 10,
Right.
10 volunteers. Well, what department in Marion County can lose 10 volunteers? Not one of them.
Is it because of the hours involved?
A lot of
the training hours?
The training hours.
Right.
You know, it used to be, like you said, in the good old days, nobody really cared about training. As
Right.
long as you showed up, you got your name put on a roster, and you were good. Now those training hours get audited. They're now there's state mandates that there wasn't before. So even the volunteer side has become more of a professional side where you have to track all this, you have to report all this. If you don't get your reporting in on time, your department's going to suffer at the state level and even federal level when it comes to state and federal grants.
You cannot fudge this paperwork neither. The audit. What happens? I mean, you know, let's go to a smaller community who has so much trouble getting help. What happens if they do fudge their records and they get caught?
Well, you're going to lose state and federal dollars more than likely. And a lot of it, you know, maybe not just the state and federal side. If you respond to an incident and something happens, now more and more cities are being held liable for what is happening, and that's the huge part, is the liability aspect of it. You know, that's one reason why we do the fire inspections, is we're kind of the insurance policy for the city. Because if something were to happen in our community, say a business downtown burns,
Right.
and it takes 2 other businesses on the side of it. Now, not only is that one business out, but the 2 other business owners are out, and our community is out because we don't have those stores, or we don't have those items available to our citizens. Plus, the city loses because now we're losing that taxable income or that tax revenue generating revenue because that business is not going to be on the tax rolls at the same level anymore. So that's really what your fire department is it's an insurance policy for your city to protect its assets.
You mentioned the lack of volunteers. In your case, none. You mentioned the amount of calls you're doing EMS-wise, phenomenal. When people complain about this building inspection thing, back to it, and the cost of it right now, we didn't clarify this, because you are contracting this out right now, the cost is a little more, because you're covering your expense, is what you're
Right.
doing.
Yep.
Whatever Iowa Inspections bills you, you're passing the buck along.
Yep.
The goal is once you get a person in that position who you're taking applications for right now, that will go down hopefully.
Hopefully.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Even when we started doing some of our own inspections, the inspection portion of it it's always was going to fund itself. So
Right.
our inspector is going to be paid for by the fees it creates, because we don't have, everybody's like, well, I pay my taxes. Yes, you do, but your taxes are there to provide fire protection or fire suppression,
Right.
not necessarily the code enforcement side of it.
Devil's advocate, when you go out and your inspectors goes out and do this building and someone passes, it makes it safer for not only the people in the building, but also makes it safer and hopefully easier on your firefighters
Right.
if the call does come to that building.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
That's the point. Well, our plan is, it's not only us we're looking at, but it's you as a citizen. It's you as the store owner or shop owner. It's you as the shopper or the person using those goods and services.
Right.
It's more of a community approach.
Do you ever get that person that says, I don't care?
Yeah.
It's my building, I don't care. Let it burn. Mm-hmm. Do you run into that? How do you, I mean, use downtown. I think I know the simple answer to that. All right. If you're downtown, let my building burn. Well, what about your common wall neighbors next to you?
Right. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's just like the police. They have to enforce traffic laws.
Right.
We have to enforce fire code. There's no way to get around it. It is what it is, and that's what our job is.
You didn't write the rules.
Yep, I'm just enforcing the rules
Right.
that are there.
What rules have been the biggest problem? The up-to-date rules.
I think a lot of it is the knock box. That gets a lot of them, which unfortunately that's been in code for Knoxville for a while, and necessarily wasn't always enforced. I don't think. And then there was also a change where, from the old code to the new code, where it was only required on new construction.
Right.
And then now we've seen the benefits of them.
Well, it's kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of those things. It's like your bunker gear. You have to replace it even if you never use it every 10 years still, right?
Yep.
That's a retail-driven product is what it is. Your Knox box kind of became that same thing. Now that the code says you have to have it used, new, or whatever, that Knox box went from $150 to, what is it, $550 now or something
I
like
think with tax, shipping, and everything, yeah, you're right around that $5.
Yeah, not counting install.
Yeah.
So when the biggest thing comes through, I always think of this. When there's a change in occupancy, when there's a change in what type of business you may have, what you're storing, the bloody sprinkler system always comes up. I sound like my Australian friends now, but the sprinkler system has always been a touchy subject since we're going Knoxville. Mm-hmm. How do you get around that?
There's not necessarily ways to get around it, but a lot of it has to do with what your occupancy is, your square footage, your occupancy classification, and your occupancy load. And we've worked with several places to not necessarily get around it, but configure your buildings different,
Right.
add in other different safety features. But like most of the time, when we work with different businesses and we start talking to their insurance company and all this and look at the other costs that could be associated with the other alternative options, the sprinkler system's not that bad of an option in the big scheme of things. With it, the breaks it can get you, the cost savings that it can have compared to the alternative options. And we've had some people that well, we're just going to put it in because it's actually the best option.
When you mention alternatives, you're talking about thicker walls, thicker door systems, stuff to slow the fire down a little bit.
Yep, more compartmentalizing.
I want to define the occupancy level because a lot of people don't get the occupancy. They think occupancy and what the classification is just how many people are in there or what's happening. Let's do a scenario real quick. 8,000 square foot building, and I'm keeping nails in there. I've got bolts and nails, and that's all I've got in there, and I've got 2 people working for me. Chances are it's not going to need sprinkler, correct?
Correct.
But that same 8,000 square foot with those same hardware, that same nails, now I'm selling drums of motor oil.
You're more than likely going to look at the sprinkler
Yeah,
system.
because of what I'm keeping inside. So it just boils down to that.
And that's what I've worked with some of the realtors around town. It's like if you get somebody that's interested in a business, put some drawings together, put some stuff down that we can review, and we can have a better conversation moving forward on what some of these requirements may be or may not be for that business. Because if you're looking at buying a building, the same building, you and I are looking at buying the same building, but we have totally different businesses.
Right.
The requirements are going to be totally different. And we can help kind of maybe tailor the needs of the business to a building that will work with it.
Something we never have discussed. How many years have you been in the service now? That long, huh?
I'm coming on, I think I'm coming up on my 30th year.
Yeah. And that's what people, I think they see you. I don't want to say you look young because I know how old you are, but they see you and think young and inexperienced. But you've been in this game a long time.
Yeah.
You know, you've been in this game in different communities a long time.
I've been in small town volunteers, I've been in some large metropolitan, and I've been in between.
Right. Where's Knoxville fit right now for you as far as your life? Is it the in-between? Because we are a smaller community, but the department and the number of calls and everything, are we in between or not?
I would say, right now we're probably in that middle to upper tier probably.
Okay.
Just based on the demands on the department right now.
All right. A lot more housing coming too, a lot of things going on. We're going to talk more and more in the future because there's something coming down the road with EMS even more, and we need to get educated on that. We've ran out of time today, but will you come back, please?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, sounds good. Again, Knoxville Fire Chief Cal Wyman with us today.